Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Jillian Leslie. I am a serial entrepreneur. I am a business coach and a business translator. I take what is working in blogging and online business, I break it down so you can use these strategies yourself. Before I get started with today's episode, I wanted to share how excited I am about the new product David, my husband and partner, and I are building called MiloTree Easy Payments. If you use our MiloTree pop-up app, you know that we are all about simplicity. Same thing with MiloTree Easy Payments. If you are starting a membership or a subscription, we help you get paid. We offer you a money button. You can put it on your blog, share it on social media, get people to sign up for your program. And then the best part is you can host it anywhere in a private Facebook group. Maybe it's a paid newsletter or a paid podcast. You could host classes on Zoom, on a Discord server, even in a private Instagram account. The possibilities are endless. We give you a dashboard to manage your subscribers. We integrate with your email service. We just make it easy for you to run your business, run your membership however you like. If this sounds interesting, head to milotree.com/beta tester and I will reach out to you right away. We'll get on a call. I'll hear about what you're building and I will help you do it. Again, head to milotree.com/beta tester. Get in on the ground floor. No tech to learn, no platforms to learn. Build it the way you want to, and I really think this could change your life. For today's episode, I have my good friend Jennifer Priest from Smart Creative Social back on the show, and we are talking about our favorite topic, Pinterest. If you've listened to my previous episodes with Jennifer, and they will be in the show notes, you know she's got a lot of opinions. She's got opinions on the direction Pinterest is going and the direction you should be going to have success on the platform. So without further delay, please enjoy my interview with Jennifer Priest. Jennifer, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Always good to talk to you about Pinterest and blogging stuff.
I love that. I like checking in with you because you always have very up-to-date information and you have very good tactics, which we're going to talk about in terms of figuring out what your goal is for using Pinterest and then how to put the pieces in place to get there.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And thanks for saying that.
Truly, I think that is your special sauce.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think, a lot of times with Pinterest, what we're looking for, in fact, I had somebody say this to me, trying to think where I was at. Oh, I was giving a presentation in an online conference this week, an online summit. And I was talking about what we don't want is we don't want somebody just to give us the steps to follow, like to say, hey, these are the steps I followed, give me your steps and I'll just follow them. What we want is an actual strategy that works for our business, that fits our business, that's tailored to our business, because Pinterest is always changing and our business is always changing, right? Like my business is totally different than it was a couple of years ago. And so we want something that's dynamic and can evolve. And this lady in the comments was like, no, I just want the steps. And I was like, the steps expire. But it's like this thing of like, oh, I don't want to think hard. And it's like a muscle, right? You kind of exercise it and you get used to it. And if you're not using it, it's hard. I bought a bicycle actually a couple months ago, and I hadn't really ridden a bicycle in probably 20 years. And I rode it and my whole body hurt. I remembered how to ride it, but it was like I hurt. And so it's kind of that same thing, right? Like you've got to exercise and practice. And then at some point it becomes just how you do things. It becomes a skill, right? That ability of looking at, okay, this is the strategy I'm employing to reach my larger goal. And then what do I got to adjust, now that I'm not getting the results I want, or Pinterest came out with some new guidance. Whereas if you have somebody's static steps to follow, those will work. You will get some results. You may get better results than that person, but they're going to expire, right? As your business changes, as Pinterest changes, at some point they will stop working. And then where are you going to be? Exactly where you were today when you started with that. You're back to square one. I don't know anybody who's like, I'm volunteering for that. I want to start over.
Absolutely. It's funny. We have a coaching group, and the thing that I am always saying is do the hard thinking. We don't want to do this. We want the steps, and we want to say, okay, I know from my business I need to grow followers. I need to grow Pinterest followers. I need to grow Instagram followers. And I say, why? What is the point of it? You can't stop there. You've got to go all the way to the point at which you know that that goal is that you are working toward a goal that will grow your business. Because then people come to me and go, I'm growing my Instagram followers, but I'm not making any money. Right. So I say, okay, how can you make money? How could Instagram possibly fit into that strategy? But most of us are on the internet growing businesses, hearing what other people are doing, and we're kind of like, oh, this is the way to do it. But I haven't really thought about, oh, for my goal, like this is how I will make money. This is what my audience is wanting from me. This is the product I could sell to them. It's like that is hard and hurts our brains. So I keep saying to my group, do that thinking. Don't just go, oh, I need to grow an email list. I need to grow this. I need to create blog posts. Like you can be so busy building a business that doesn't turn into a business.
Right. I think, what is that? There's this online coach, Brooke Castillo, and she talks a lot about that. And I think she calls it a jobby. Right? It's like a hobby that you work like a job.
So let's talk about Pinterest. What are you seeing working today to drive business, sales, traffic?
So I think the biggest shift we're seeing there's a few things happening on Pinterest, right? There's, and I actually have, I don't know if you'd let me talk about this, but I have a new roadmap that I worked all this into because, especially for a lot of us that have been using Pinterest for quite some time, we're like, wait, what all changed? Like, I don't know exactly what's different. So I think there's 5 things I line up in there about what changed. So one is the focus on the creator, right? So Pinterest is launching all these creator tools. They're doing creator events. They had that summit back in October of 2020. They have a forum, and they have all these different things where they're trying to push the creator. And in line with that are idea pins, which used to be called story pins, but they rolled it out of beta and now they're calling it idea pins, which I think is more of an appropriate name for them because they want it to be a self-contained idea that someone can fully consume and fully take action on within the ecosystem of Pinterest. So that means there's no link. They need to be able to take action on it without having to go to your site or go somewhere else. So,
and they're evergreen. It's not like they're disappearing.
They don't expire. It's not like on Instagram where you're literally telling a story for 6 panes, and it's not like that. And so I think it was smart of them to change the name. So there's the whole creator focus. Then there's the shop focus, where they've made it a lot easier for people to import all their products if they have like a Shopify store or WooCommerce or Etsy or whatever. Merchants can become verified, so they get a special check mark on their profile to show that they're trusted. And that unlocks a whole nother set of tools for merchants. So there's all of the shopping, right? Pinterest is like, okay, we know that people are looking for ideas on here, so we're going to make that easier. We're going to allow brands to tag their products on pins. We're going to allow all these different things to facilitate the shopping experience. Now, I don't know if you've tried it. I did. I tried to buy some stuff from Target, and it made me want to pull my hair out. It was really hard.
On Pinterest? Through Pinterest?
Yes,
okay.
It was really hard. So I don't know if they were doing some kind of pilot thing because it just felt like it wasn't working right. And I have a lot of trouble doing stuff within the Pinterest app on my phone. So I don't know if that's an Android thing or what, but I use Pinterest on desktop. And 83% of people are using it on mobile. So, they're still working out some glitches, I think, on the user experience side. And then there's the search engine traffic side, right? The side that we all as bloggers really know and love and have benefited from with Pinterest. And I think that's where we have to adjust our expectation a lot. Looking at, Pinterest now has these other two facets of what they offer and where they're focused. We used to be able, and I think this is kind of like, we've got to get rid of the nostalgia for the good old days. We used to be able to put a pin up and get traffic like that. Like you'd sit there and look at your stats and you're like, oh my God, like look at all these people coming over from Pinterest. It's amazing. And now Pinterest is a lot more like Google. And it's so funny because people don't expect to write a blog post. I mean, if they're experienced, if they're brand new beginner, they expect it to go viral. But people that have some experience write a blog post and they don't expect to go to Google tomorrow and see it at the number one spot. They're like, oh, it's going to be a good 4, 8, 24 months.
Yeah, I was going to say on average, it could be
Right.
12. I usually say 12 months until you
Right.
can really start ranking for something.
And we've been able to move there with Google because in the good old days, you could rank really fast. You could have terrible content and rank really fast because you're the only article on the internet about that thing.
Totally.
Right. And Google has algorithms too. Right. And that's one of my pet peeves is I see a lot of SEO people and a lot of bloggers too get upset and they'll say, oh, Pinterest sucks. It's not giving me results. I'm just going to do SEO because that's not affected by algorithm changes. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, go Google, Google algorithm changes.
There's a brand new one rolling out this summer. So
with the core web vitals,
absolutely.
Right? And we're already seeing, I don't know what you're seeing, but in the ad network that I'm in that Facebook group, there's already people who are like, oh my gosh, my traffic's tanking all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're not immune, right? And so I think we've got to move Pinterest over from the column of Instagram, Facebook. It has some of those features, but I think we need to move it more over in the column of Google and YouTube as a search engine. Mm-hmm. And tempering our expectations to that, to go, okay, we're going to put a pin up. And a lot of you have probably seen this. You put a pin up, it gets a couple thousand impressions, a couple clicks, and then it's dead. And you're like, what happened? Oh, my pins aren't going anywhere. No, that's not what it is. Pinterest is like, what do those numbers actually mean? Pinterest is showing it to a few people. It's looking at what they do with it. It's gathering data. And then it's kind of tucking it in its back pocket until it needs to show it to more people, right? So it's still collecting data. Like this is what I want people to think about when you put a pin on Pinterest. There's this old saying with gardeners. If you ask a gardener, when is the best time to plant a tree? They will tell you 5 years ago. When's the next best time to plant a tree? Today. Right? So if you the minute you put a pin on Pinterest, it starts gathering data. It crawls your website and says, oh, what's at the destination link? Does that match what's on the pin? It looks at the board. It looks at the content of the pin. It looks at your overall account. Then it says, okay, we think these labels are what this thing is about. So we're going to put these labels on it and then we're going to match it to other people with the same labels, right? So if this pin has the labels taco and vegan and 30-minute meal, then it's going to show it to people who are interested in those things. Then it's going to look at how did they interact with that? How was it received? Did they take action? Did they engage? Did they make it look bigger? What happened? This is what every single platform does. It tests and then it gathers data. And then it says, oh, you know what? None of the vegan people clicked on that, but the taco people did. And a couple 30-minute meal people did. So we're going to adjust and we might show it to a few other different people who fits the labels a little bit differently. And so it's always going to be gathering data. And then it seems like the pins kind of go dormant. And here's the thing. I had this discussion with Elisa Meredith from Tailwind because when people do this in my program, it drives me crazy because I feel like they're trying to drive themselves crazy. People watch the pin stats. It's like watching cookies bake, right? It's only going to take 8 minutes, but you're like looking in the oven and it feels like forever and it's never going to bake. Or watching a plant try to sprout. It's madness. You're going to go crazy. Well, add on top of that like the stats on individual pins are really volatile. If you really watch them, you'll be like, okay, on Monday, I put it on Monday. On Friday, it said that it had 3,000 impressions. So then I checked it 2 weeks from Friday. So it hasn't even been 30 days. So it should still show me all of the activity. And it says it only has 100 impressions. If that doesn't show to you that they're not dependable and volatile on an individual pin, I don't know what else you need to see. But like over and over and over and over. And no, people are like, oh, it's because I pinned it with Tailwind. It didn't work. Or, oh, it's because it's like, what? It's these like all these erroneous correlations happening. And it's like, okay, so stop looking at something that's not dependable. Right? It's like that friend that you have that's like, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then they're never there. You're not going to ask that friend to go pick you up at the airport, right? Because like, unless you want to have to Uber home. So we're expecting stuff we're expecting behavior that's not going to happen. So like, stop looking at individual pins. And this is what I ask people too. What decision would you make if you had that data, if it was dependable? They're like, well, I might make more pins like that. I said, okay, well, is it sending you traffic? Like, what's the end goal, right? Back to what you're saying, what's the end goal? And so usually there isn't any decision that they would make. They're just going through this crazy making process of watching individual pins, and getting really stressed out about it. And on the flip side of that, going, the only pins that are getting any traction are really old. Pinterest just wants old stuff. It's like, what? No. If you think about it, like, I look at that as such a huge opportunity. I'm like, why is Pinterest scraping the bottom of the barrel with my terrible pin from 2016 and now showing it to people and it's taking off? I'm like, oh, that means they have a deficit of content for that topic. So hello, opportunity is like ding, 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 ding. Like, sometimes I'm just like, I get exhausted just thinking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I got to make all these posts because these old posts, they came up and there's like so much stuff that I could do with this. And instead people are like bemoaning, like, oh, only my old pins are doing well. It's like, make more of that.
Instead of me talking about MiloTree, I thought I would share what one of our happy customers, Nicole Carr from Take It From Nicole, had to say.
I absolutely love the MiloTree app. I think it's really cool. It was so easy to install for me. For someone who's not a tech person, it was click, copy, paste, boom, and it was on my WordPress blog. I have it set up for Pinterest, but you could use it for email signups or Instagram. And it's a great way to build your audience really inexpensively at under $10 a month. I set it and forget it, and I just see Pinterest followers growing. So people that I'm sending from Pinterest to my site are then becoming followers and seeing more of my content. So it's a great way to take something that you're already driving traffic to and to build social followings or email lists.
Thank you, Nicole, for that awesome testimonial. And remember, MiloTree will not slow down your site one bit. I want to talk about fresh pins, and I want to talk about Smart Loop. Okay, so let's start with fresh pins.
Right. So people are doing them wrong. And
I love a statement like that.
Right. I'm like, you're doing fresh pins wrong. So there's one of my favorite people. I think I should change his name. Let's call him Jimmy. Okay.
Okay.
So Jimmy was all up in the Facebook groups last year in 2020. Jimmy was all up in the Facebook groups going like, what's wrong with my Pinterest account? I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the things. And you guys, I've said this myself too. Back in 2015, 2016, you could probably find some posts from me saying these things. He's like, I'm doing all the things. I'm giving Pinterest all the fresh pins. I'm making 50 pins a day. Like, I'm just making up numbers, but an insane amount of pins a day. I'm pinning like crazy. And he's like, everything that used to work before, none of my pins are working anymore. And they used to get amazing traffic, but they're not getting traffic now. And I'm making more and more and more. I even made video pins with animated GIFs, blah, blah, blah. Right. Probably a lot of us have said this thing. What I did with Jimmy is like, let's zoom out. And you'll probably hear me say this a lot on my Facebook lives, is like, zoom out. Let's go back to the basics. Two things with any platform, but let's keep it to Pinterest. But I'm giving you guys a hint, like, you can use this stuff for any platform. What's their mission and how are they monetized? And so with Pinterest, their mission, they change the words all the time, and we can go deep on like what the intention is behind the words they chose, because I think there's something special there. But basically, they want to help people find new ideas, right? So then how are they monetized? They're monetized with ads. How does somebody that's monetized with ads make money? They need people to come back over and over and over and over again. So if they're showing people ideas, they can't show them the same ideas over and over again because they'll get bored. They won't come back, right? They'll be like, oh, I need this idea. Where am I going to go? Oh, not Pinterest, because I'm going to see the same stuff I already saw.
Totally.
This is why they came out with fresh pins. This was the user experience in 2016 and 2017.
Yes.
And any of you that remember as a user, like you're remembering, the same pin would be up, like the upper left corner of my screen was the same pin for 2 years of my home feed. And you're like, there's no new ideas on here. And we bloggers know like there's a ton of new ideas because I'm putting them on there, right? And so Pinterest came out with this fresh pin idea because they needed people to be like, oh, where's my inspiration place? Pinterest. That's where I'm going to go.
Absolutely. So therefore, for Jimmy, who was making pins that looked like his original pins with probably the same headline, slightly different font,
same layout,
maybe another photo that looked almost exactly like the first photo, but it was different, kind of.
It was different.
Okay, but what did you say to Jimmy? Why was this the wrong strategy?
Because Pinterest is run by an AI. They use matching to suggest to you similar things and to make sure they're not suggesting to you the same thing. And so a way to see this in action is the more like this area, right? So you open up a pin, and as soon as you scroll down from that pin, you see more like this. Pinterest also does it in your home feed. They do it in the search feeds. They will match you to things that you've dwelled on. Like there's all kinds of factors that they're calculating and adding scores to, and that determines what you see. But an easy place to see this in action is more like this. So if you open up a macaroni and cheese recipe and you scroll down, you're going to see similar macaroni and cheese recipes. You'll also see similar pins from the same person. You'll see some of their other pins, and Pinterest is going to be matching that. And sometimes when you scroll down, Pinterest gets it really wrong. And you're like, I was looking at macaroni and cheese and now it's showing me pool noodles. You're like, what? So it's an AI, so it's matching, and it's really good at matching on the level of like a 2-year-old. So in some places it's really sophisticated, right? And you're like, wow, it's like, it knows me, right? But in other ways it's not sophisticated. So imagine a 2-year-old playing a matching card game where they have all the cards turned face down, and they pull one over and it's a crocodile. And then they pull another one over and it's a dinosaur. And then it's like, match, crocodile, dinosaur, right? They're both green. They both have scales. It's like same thing. But we know it's not the same thing. That's what Pinterest is doing with your pins. And this is why I tell people don't use templates, right? Like everybody's, don't use templates fresh out the box. Because people will sign up for these programs where they're like, I get 15 fresh pin templates every month. And I'm like, I can go to Pinterest and be like, that's so-and-so's template. That's a template for my program. That's so-and-so's free template. Like I can tell people templates. You have to customize them because Pinterest, again, is matching them and going, Jennifer's pin, Trixie's pin, match, and matching them when they're totally not on the same thing, because it's matching it based on like, it looks the same. So when you're using a template or branded pins and you have like this formula worked great for me all these years, and just plugging in different images in your collage or plugging in different images in your template, Pinterest is matching template to template to template to template. So you have to change the design. Now that's a mechanics thing, right? And that's a mistake that I see people making is they focus on mechanics. What's the percentage that I need to change the image for it to be a fresh pin? Okay, well, if that's the case, Jennifer, then I'll have 50 templates that all look different, and I'll just plug my images in and spew them out on Pinterest. It's like, no. On top of that, it needing to look different, Pinterest is like, and it's so funny because I said this last year on a Tailwind Live. You guys can probably go find it if you're like, have a lot of time on your hands. I said the words, it needs to be a new and novel presentation of that idea. And I don't think Pinterest pays attention to me, but I love that they use the words new and novel in their communications about fresh pins now, because I think that just shows that I was on the right track. If you think about what do those words mean, new and novel, it doesn't mean you need to make a new blog post every day and only pin it once, right? That's not what they mean. What we're finding works is looking at what are the different angles to help someone discover this content. And I'm not saying like, because even I went to Tailwind's blog. I love Tailwind. Okay. So I'm not trying to trash Tailwind. Tailwind is at the cutting edge of trying to help us for free learn all the things about Pinterest. And with that, their staff is like, just, going 100 miles an hour, trying to update all these free resources they have on their site. So I went on their site looking for something I wanted to share. And they had some stuff that I would consider a little out of date at this point. Right. But I don't want that to sound like a criticism, because like, you guys, it's free. Like they're giving you world-class training for free. So, but they have some examples of pins on their site in the fresh pins where I feel like that's even kind of phasing out. Like, the standard keeps getting raised and raised every month of what we need to do to make the pin look new and novel. So for example, if we were talking about, let's see, how to make an applique pillow, right? So, let me pick something simpler. Give me an idea of something that's
how to knit a sweater.
Okay, how to knit a sweater. This is something I don't really know about, so we can talk about it as a novice. So how to knit a sweater, right? That's what your blog post is. Maybe it's how to knit a baby sweater for beginners. So there's going to be a lot of different things in that post that person might be searching for on Pinterest. They might not know yet that they need to knit a baby sweater. That's one audience member that's searching for how to knit a baby sweater. Somebody else might be searching for what's the best yarn to use to knit baby items, right? That's something you're probably going to address in your post, because you're going to say, use this yarn over this yarn, or I chose this yarn because XYZ reasons, right? You're probably going to address that naturally. And if not, then you probably need to for SEO purposes. The other thing, what are the best knitting needles to use to make sweaters? Do I need to know special things? What are the essential stitches I need to know to make sweaters? What's another question you might have? How do I wash hand knit items so they last longer?
How about best DIY gifts for babies?
Right. So like there's so many. How long does it take for me to knit a baby sweater? Because the baby shower is next week. Can I do this? So there's all those different things. So now just in those ideas, there's probably 8 different pins you can create to address those different things that someone's searching for. They might not be searching for how to knit a baby sweater. They might be searching for DIY baby gift that I can do in a month, or whatever. Like, you'll have to do the keyword research to find out what those things are. But within any blog post, we have so many different questions we're answering, so many different problems we're solving, so many different ways that we can package it. So it's not just how to knit a baby sweater.
Done once with a collage, once with a picture of the finished product, once with like a picture of a baby wearing the sweater. Like, exactly. Like, that's not going, that's not different enough. But here's what I would say too. This is really helpful for Google. Because if you're going to make these, let's say you've got this, knitting baby sweater DIY, and you go, I got 8 pins. Well, now you go back into that post and you make sure that you are answering what you've now pinned, like what that thing is. Like, you can't do a bait and switch. You can't be like, I just mentioned buy these knitting needles like in one little sentence and then do a pin about it, because you're going to piss off the people who click through for the right knitting needles. So in that post, you need to address that. The post doesn't have to be about only knitting needles, but now that post is much more robust, which Google will love. And somebody's coming to you for, let's say, the knitting needles, but now they're going to learn like what is the best yarn that won't shrink if I wash this sweater. Like you're just making their experience even better. But in that post though, you need to make sure somebody can easily find the solution that pin is talking about.
Yeah. And I mean, then there's more opportunities for affiliate. It's going to perform better on Google. Like this is the things that I'm teaching in my program. They're like not really Pinterest, but they are, because it's like Pinterest's job is just to show people your stuff, right? To show people ideas they want. So if your stuff happens to be ideas they want, right? Not just showing your stuff, but it has to be stuff they want. And then as soon as somebody clicks off Pinterest and goes to your site, then Pinterest's job is over, right? There's no responsibility of Pinterest at that point. It's all on you. And so one of the places that I see people having a hard time with Pinterest is they may have beautiful photography. They may have great looking pins, but then people get over to their site and they're like, what is this experience? And so there's those, even with shopping, we have one member in our program that he and I were doing a Q&A call, and he's like, yeah, my pins, they're getting a lot of saves and they're getting some clicks, but my sales are down. And we figured out something happened on his website and all his links were broken.
And there's a disconnect. It has to be a through line. The through line has to work. Again, it's that idea like do not false advertise in your Pinterest pin to your blog. Make sure that the visuals feel coherent. Make sure that that pin photo is showing up on your blog post, or at least some that look like it, so that people don't go, what? Because remember, we all are on the internet with like a skeptical eye. Like, am I clicking on a site? Like, is this going to be spammy? Am I going to get a virus? Like, what is this? So therefore, we are more apt to back out than anything else. We're bouncing, and it's easy to bounce. There's no cost to it. Therefore, you need to make sure that you are delivering when somebody clicks over.
Yeah. Then this is what I always say. I'm like, are you delivering on the promise of the pin, right? Your pin is making a promise to that person. This is what you're going to get if you come on over to my site. And so like, are you delivering on that? And, I always say this in my program. I'm like, what's good for Pinterest is good for Google. And what's good for Google is good for Pinterest, because both of them make money with ads. They make money off the trust they've built with people to come to them over and over so they can show them ads. And there was something else I wanted to say about the fact that Pinterest is monetized with ads, because there are people who are like, it's pay for play, organic is over, it's only for shopping, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, as long as any platform, okay, not just Pinterest, but as long as any platform has ads, they will always have a need for high quality organic content to put between those ads. Because if you came to Pinterest or Facebook or Instagram, and we've all had these experiences where the stuff's gone awry and it's all ads, you're like, I'm out.
Totally. Think of like magazines back in the day. If it was no content and just ad after ad after ad, it's not going to have a good experience. So what I'm hearing you say is don't compete with yourself. So if in fact you've created a pin and then you've created another pin that looks like your first pin, Pinterest is not going to necessarily show both those pins. So don't, again, it's very true to Google as well. Do not name your blog post the same thing. Do not compete with yourself with Google. So do not compete with yourself with the pins that you create. Make sure you have value, that there is value in what you're offering in your pin, and then deliver on it in your blog.
Yeah, I mean, and they can use like the same name on the pin, but like this is where we get into the technical stuff. I feel like people get hung up on that. They're like, is the exact picture have to be on my blog, or can it be a different picture? Does the keyword have, if I change one keyword, like I have a post about IKEA craft rooms. There's only so many ways you can say that because it has to have the words IKEA and craft rooms in it, right? So like I'm going to make new pins that say IKEA craft rooms, but there's going to be a different angle to it. Like, what am I updating it with now? Right? Like what new information am I bringing? What new way am I presenting it? What new differentiator can I add to that pin? That's not going to make it different from everyone else, but it's going to make it different from what I've already told them before, because we should be updating our content on our destination pages, right? Because like the bar on Pinterest is raising, the bar on Google's raising all the time too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I always say, create great content and it will get found, but with smart decision making. You can't just like go get great content on something nobody's searching for example. Like you've got to line these things. Again, this is where the hard thinking comes in. The concepts aren't hard, but thinking it through for your business from I create this piece of content and I know, ready for it, how this piece of content is going to make me money. I have connected all of those dots. That's tricky and hard. Okay, let's talk about Smart Loop.
Yeah, so Smart Loop's like so controversial.
And Smart Loop, for those who don't know, Smart Loop is a feature in Tailwind where you can set up pins and then Tailwind will pin these pins at intervals into different boards. And it is very useful for things like seasonal content. That Valentine's Day, your best Valentine's Day post, chances are, should be repinned at Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so you've nailed it. Smart Loop is a tool, right? And this is the first mistake I see people make with Tailwind Smart Loop, with it being automated, is they dump all their pins into it and they say, oh, I turned it on and then it's not working, or I used Smart Loop and now my account got suspended, right? It's only going to do what you tell it to do. And it's only going to do what you tell it to do with the inputs you put in it. Right. So imagine like a mixer. I don't know if any of you, I remember when I was in the military, I would have KP duty and I had to work in the commercial kitchen, right? The mess hall. And they had these big old mixers, like a KitchenAid on steroids. Right. And if you just turn it on full blast, right, it would just go nuts. Right. But that's what I think people do with Smart Loop, is they just turn it on full blast and it goes nuts. Then they're not even looking at the inputs that they put in. It's like they're putting in, ground beef and some eggs and like a couple pieces of bread. And they're like, why didn't a wedding cake come out? It's like, no, it's going to do what you tell it to do with the inputs you put into it. That's what's going to give you the results. So really, Smart Loop is an automation tool that should be used to automate what is already working for you.
I love that.
It's a robot, right? Imagine like if we were in the Jetsons and you were like, I need you to mop my floor, and it should already do it the way that you tell it to do it. So that's where I think people get in trouble with Smart Loop. So I looked at my data for Smart Loop because I knew we were going to be doing this. I've been using Smart Loop since November 2018. Okay. And I think I told you at one point I had like 4,000 or 5,000 pins in it. Up until summer of 2020, I had 2,500 pins in Smart Loop. So that meant, based on a schedule that I programmed it with, right, that I told it what to do, it was pinning 2,500 pins in rotation. So that might sound scammy.
In a year? Like how many pins of Smart Loop were pinning, say, a day?
They were all customized.
Got it.
So I think sometimes we had like 200 pins going out a day. Sometimes 50. Like I anything that was working, we automated it with Smart Loop. So like then I wasn't paying someone to pin it because Smart Loop could do that action for me. Right? Because remember, we used to be able to repin things and they would get a lot more traction. And that's the other thing with fresh pins too, is like repinning. It's not that you can't do it, just how you do it, where you do it, why you do it. That's what's changed.
So back to Smart Loop. So you have found that you are setting up the pins that have already done well for you in Smart Loop.
No.
Ooh, share.
So for 2 years, I put, well, let's not call it 2 years. Let's call it a year and a half. I put every single pin that I pinned went into Smart Loop. Every single one. And then I'd go and do an audit of my loops and see what's performing, what's not performing. And we'd clear out anything. So we had certain thresholds that were like, we wanted to see a certain number of repins per pin. It had to have been published a certain number of times before we put it on the chopping block. Because if it's only been published twice through Smart Loop and it didn't perform well, we don't know that it's going to be bad. So we're like, let's give it a few more tries. So there's factors that when we're doing the audit, we're looking at. And basically what we're doing is saying, okay, if these are performing well, let's keep them in the ecosystem. Let's keep putting them out there. And there's, reasons that we're repinning them. And because that's what Smart Loop's doing is it's basically like putting the same content that's already been on Pinterest, it's putting it on there again. Mm-hmm. And then anything that was a low performer, we just pulled it out. So all we did is shifted from using intervals on Tailwind to pin those pins at different intervals to different boards. We just shifted that over to Smart Loop to let Smart Loop do that work.
What did you discover? Were you getting traffic from this? And do you get traffic from Smart Loop?
So there's two things that I have going on in the campaigns. One is Tailwind puts their own UTM tracker on anything that comes out through Smart Loop. So those ones, there were over the period of time so I'm going from November 2nd, 2018, or November 1st, 2018, because just looking at the graph, it looks like somewhere in there's where I turned on Smart Loop, to today, right? So this is 2.5 years later. It says there are 330,000 users from Smart Loop. And there's more sessions than that, but 330,000 users from Smart Loop. In August of 2020, which is about 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I put a new UTM tracker on there. And those ones, there's only 4,900 users. So it went down. Right? But still, like, let me adjust it. Let's look at just this year. We'll do January 1, 2021. The old ones are still giving a lot of traffic. So it's still the Smart Loop pins these are new, right? These are brand new pins to Pinterest. They're not even a year old that I'm tracking with the UTM code from 2020. Those are about 10% of what the overall Tailwind Smart Loop traffic is. So it's still working good. So then I have other UTM codes I'm using too. So number one is Tailwind Smart Loop, right? From the old pins. Number two is Tailwind Tribes, right? So I'm like, I probably had some big bloggers pin my stuff. And then there's a couple other ones that aren't relevant to what we're talking about. And then Tailwind Interval is the next one. So I was tracking, and then manual pin. So I was tracking over the last almost year, Smart Loop versus pinning with an interval versus pinning manually. And they're all pretty neck and neck, like almost exactly the same, except the UTM code that Tailwind is putting onto the pins, that is like, it's literally 10 times more than all the other ones.
Your recommendation for people is, if they have Tailwind or maybe get Tailwind, use Smart Loop and use it intentionally. So you're not just spamming Pinterest, but that you are strategically thinking about which pins to put in there, and then looking at the data, pulling out the pins that aren't necessarily working, trying new pins, new intervals, see how it works for you. But you think Smart Loop is a great way to get traffic on autopilot.
So yeah, so there's some things I got to share. I'm like, I don't know how much I can share, but I in my program, it's so funny because people will join and they're like, I want the Smart Loop training right now. And I'm like, no, you're not ready. They're like, what? And I don't let anyone get into the Smart Loop training until they have a strategy in place that works. Because the only reason that they need Smart Loop is to automate what they are already doing. And that's where I think people get in trouble, is they're like, oh, I'm just going to plug all my stuff in Smart Loop, and they don't have a strategy that works. All Smart Loop is, all Tailwind is a tool to help you execute what you already know works. And so that's like, I really want to caution people before they just go and say, oh, I'm going to put all my pins in Smart Loop, and I took like copious notes and I'm going to because Smart Loop is not the magic. It's that you're using it to automate. So the reason that I think my Smart Loop traffic is better than everything else is because I'm the most inconsistent marketer on the planet. This is why I don't have a job. I don't want to show up at a job at a regular time. I don't even want to have appointments. Like, I don't even show up to my regular appointments that I make, like my massage. I'm just like, oh God, I have an appointment. So for me to show up and be consistent on social media and be pinning all the time, it's like, yeah, that's never going to happen. So Smart Loop is executing and being consistent in ways that I'm not, right? So I think that's part of why it's so successful, is because it's showing up whether or not I show up to work, right? It's showing up and executing on my plan that I know gets results consistently, day and month and year after year. So it's not the magic. It's that it's doing what I already know works, and it's amplifying it way more than I would do personally, because like, if I put a calendar reminder to go pin something, I'll be like, oh yeah. Like literally I had 3 calendar reminders this morning that I was like, oh, I'm gonna move those to next week. I'll take care of that later. Right? Like, if that was my Pinterest, I would never do it. So that's where I want to caution people. The other thing is that with Pinterest communications about what they want us pinning has led me to believe that and we can, I don't know if we can still get Smart Loop through Tailwind or not. If you already have it, you have it. But I don't know if that's going to change or not. I would say don't become overly dependent on a tool executing your strategy, right? Make sure that you know what it's doing. You've programmed it to do what you know works. So when that tool, if and when that tool goes away, you can still get the results that you are looking for, right? You know how to execute on that strategy.
And I feel like this is a great way to tie in to the beginning of this interview, which is everything changes. So it is all about staying nimble, staying open, being willing to pivot, taking advantage of what's working now, because chances are in 6 months it won't work, or it will evolve into something else. I believe as online entrepreneurs, we hold on for the ride, because the ride can be crazy.
If it was easy, we'd get so bored.
And everybody would be doing it. So the fact that you're in this is a testament to you. So Jennifer, if people want to reach out to you to learn about what you offer in your group, all of that, what is the best way?
I think the best way would be for you guys to go, you can go to my site, smartcreativesocial.com. And at the top, there's a button to get the roadmap. You can join my free group. There's all the information is on there. And from there, we can start a conversation if you want. Or you can go to my group. You can consume all my free resources. I got YouTube and all that. It's all linked in that one spot.
Well, Jennifer, I have to say, thank you so much for coming on the show, and you are coming back.
All right. Thank you for having me. And it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I love that you are a fellow supporter of data-backed decision-making.
I hope you guys like this episode. I always find Jennifer to be really fun, really honest. Yes, use data to guide you. Dig into your analytics. Don't just go with your gut. Also, align yourself with Pinterest's goals. Think about that top of mind. If you are building out a membership or subscription to serve your audience, I want to help you get paid. So please come be a beta tester. Head to MiloTree.com/beta tester. You can try out MiloTree Easy Payments. It is a game changer. Can you tell I'm excited about this? I really am. And I will keep you posted on our product as we continue to build it out. And I will be back here next week with another cool episode. See you then.